Welcome to another edition of People Over Politics. We have another new guest today. Of course, always love to have new guests, and we have someone joining us from the other side. One of my favorite places to be, one of my favorite places to visit, Montgomery County. Thanks for joining us, Councilwoman Mink.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yes. And for people who don't know you, just give them, a little bit about you and, who you are. I know you're a councilwoman, but of course, explain, where you represent. And then, of course, just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm in Montgomery County. I represent District 5 there, which is the east side of the county. So bordering PG. I run from Burtonsville on down through the, Fairland, Calverton, White Oak, Hillendale area to Four Corners. And then I also loop out west a little bit to include Leisure World. So it's a pretty interesting district. I'm from Montgomery County. I grew up here. For those who know the area, I went to Blair High School. I started off as a teacher, taught for a long time. And then during the Trump administration, I shifted full time into community organizing and advocacy work. And, you spend enough time trying to get elected to do the right thing. Eventually, it becomes apparent that if we could just take some of those seats ourselves, those votes get a little easier. So decided to run, and here we are.
Wow. And so I heard in there that you are now an elected public servant. So I'm very glad, to hear that, because a lot of the best public servants come from a constituent service background, an advocacy background, right? Because, they understand the community, they understand the people. And I think from the advocacy perspective, I think that it's very good to come from an advocacy perspective, because you not only have, sympathy, but you have empathy and compassion. And I think that you also include that advocacy community very well in your decision making, so.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's ideally, that's how all of politics would run, right? We're supposed to be working for the people. So we should want to know what they want and need and be working to deliver that. But of course, for those of us who have been advocates and activists, whether you're doing it professionally or on the side, we know that generally it takes a whole lot of work to overcome millions of lobbying dollars being spent on the other side to try to get folks to do the right thing. So, I definitely bring that to my work now. I believe in co-creation of policy, working with community to make sure that that's where policy starts, with what we need, yes, what we want, and then we work on, what does it take to get that done.
Okay. Hey, and I wanted to make sure to give the disclaimer to everybody out there. I am in Black-owned, woman-owned, family-operated coffee shop here in Laurel. So if you hear a little background music here and there, that is why, I'm in this lovely coffee shop. And, one of the things I wanted to bring up, of course, I've been very involved in local politics, regional politics. The county council in Montgomery County, you guys now have the most women, ever on the council. If I'm correct, is that 6 or 5?
Yeah, it's 6 out of 11, which is especially interesting because in the previous council, which was 9 members, so we actually added 2 seats this time, but the previous council had 1 woman out of 9, and this council, with the new election, all 6 seats were filled by women. So now we're a majority of the council.
Yes, and that's awesome, and you are one of them. And so
and I'll note also that I'm also I'm first gen. My mom's Chinese, and I'm the first Asian to ever sit on the Montgomery County Council ever.
Wow, I didn't. You have to uplift that. Absolutely. We always have to uplift the first, and you definitely will not be the last. And that's what's important.
Right.
That is what's important. And so, I do know a lot of the dynamic women on the county council. Personally friends with a few of them. Definitely, I love former mayor, but now Councilwoman Kate Stewart. Of course, I know she's doing great things on the council. And I know several of the council members. Definitely the more progressive, the more liberal ones, but I definitely know a good amount of them. And so you mentioned that you guys added 2 seats. For people out there that are not the most political, what exactly does that mean? You guys originally had 9 seats, and now you guys have 11 seats.
Yeah. So, our population has grown. So we now it's split up so that each of the districts, we have 2 additional districts now. And so everybody represents about the same number of people, and we're all able to spend a little more time engaging with those folks. And that's especially critical for my part of the county, East County, because that historically has been not had enough of a voice at the table. That part of the county, the district previously included, downtown Silver Spring and Tacoma Park. And we know that those are very vocal areas politically, which is great. You love that. But areas that have, now historically taken a back seat, unfortunately, to some of those already very vocal areas, now have somebody, myself, who is there to really dedicate themselves to fighting for them. So that's what I'm working to do.
And so let me get this clear. You guys added more district seats, or they're at-large seats now?
Added 2 more district seats.
Oh, you added 2 district seats, not more at-large seats. Okay. And for people who don't know what at-large, that just means you're representing an entire area instead of district-specific or like a ward.
Exactly, which is important because everybody's got to know in Montgomery County, the way it's set up now, everybody has 5 council members who represent them, because there's 4 people on the council who are at large. They represent the full county. And then everybody has their own district council member. So whenever you got something that you want to advocate about, you should be reaching out to at least those 5 people. They all, you vote for them. They're on your ballot. So you're their constituent.
Reach out directly to them. Absolutely. And definitely reach out to the at-large members, because, for the county council here in Prince George's, I got to make sure that we're involving the at-large members, because a lot of times, sometimes they forget that they represent the entire county, and, that they're not beholden to, one interest, or, so we definitely got to remind the at-large members as well. And so one of the key issues I wanted to bring up, of course, Laurel, we've been in this fight. The fight for fair housing. Housing is a human right. And so I recently saw, this article, Laurel Independent, which highlights, basically what we've been working on, right? Getting rent stabilization. Oh,
awesome.
Yep, there we go. Getting rent stabilization, for the people. So I know that's something that you guys are working on. It's something that, I've definitely championed, and, I've met several colleagues, and Will Jawando, he's been out here, Councilmember Jawando's been out in Laurel several times on the ground, advocating and, raising awareness. And so, I was disappointed to hear there was also competing bills similar to Prince George's County. We had a segment 2 weeks ago talking about the competing bills. So can you explain, the 2 different bills? I believe you're the sponsor of one of them, and
Yeah, so there's a bill that myself and Councilmember Jawando, that we've been working on. We've been working closely also with County Executive Marc Elrich, who's been a champion for rent. So we don't agree on everything, but we definitely agree on this one for rent stabilization. Back he used to be in Tacoma Park, which has rent stabilization, and so he's been working on this for a long time. And so we have that bill. It's called the Home Act, which is an acronym, but all you have to remember is the Home Act. It caps rent increases at 3% or less per year. So it's based on, Montgomery County has something called the voluntary rent guidelines already. Those have been in place since the early 80s. Of course, they're voluntary, which is not ideal, but they're based on a local measure of inflation that's specific to housing, so it's very reasonable. And they have averaged 3% or less over the last 2 decades. So it gives you that gives you a good idea of what even is really needed. So what the bill does is to cap annual rent increases at whatever that voluntary rent guideline is, or 3%. So if those voluntary numbers go over 3%, it's still, the increase is still capped at 3%. And then we've got a little, mechanisms for if exceptions are needed to make sure that we're, following the law and all that, and that landlords are not, losing income, losing money, that they're able to maintain their operating income. So, which is constitutionally required. So, but it provides predictability for renters, which is necessary, and some stability.
And in the exemption process, especially would mean that, hey, you got to come forth with, documentation, paperwork, and why you need.
You got to literally bring the receipts. And I will say that a piece that's built into our bill is. Sorry, go ahead, Martin. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that you put it very simply. Bring the receipts. That's all I was.
That's right. Show us your income. Show us your expenses over the last couple of years, and we'll see if you really need to, if you really need to increase beyond 3%. But if you do, then you do. And
open up the books.
But one thing we say is you can't even don't even bother to apply for that unless you're in good standing in terms of code enforcement, maintenance,
and a legal renter, as well.
Yep.
Because
Exactly. So that's the bill that we have. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, just to make sure that, because there's a lot of people who illegally rent as well, and
right.
Will also try to illegally evict. So
that's right. So we're hoping that with that we have built in some incentives for landlords to get on the right side of the law in terms of their, their registration as well as their upkeep and all of that. We can do two birds with one stone there. So we've got that bill, and we've had input on that bill from other council members as well. So that's good.
But that bill had a lot of community support. Seemed like an overwhelming amount, similar to Crystal Oriata's and the People's Council's bill, Prince George's County. A lot of times, Prince George's and Montgomery mirror things, right? And, we play off of each other, right? And so, what is this other bill? This other bill, it sounds very landlord developer friendly, and that's as frankly as I can put it. That's as frankly as I can put it.
Yeah. So I think that there is the sense, even amongst developers, that something is going to happen in Montgomery County. That there is energy for rent stabilization. We see that it's happening regionally, right? That there are more members of the county council now who have expressed support for it than in the past by far, and that the public is calling for it a lot, vociferously. So instead of saying that rent is too damn high is the truth. So instead of saying now we can't, there can be no rent cap, no rent stabilization, the industry developers, we can't sustain it. They're not saying that anymore. Now they're saying, okay, it's going to happen and that's okay, but we want some input on where the number falls. So the other bill caps annual rent.
We want to tell you how you should regulate us.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, understood.
Okay. So the other bill caps annual rent increase at 8% plus inflation. Let me just say that again: 8% plus inflation. Wow. So already they're regulating at in the double digits. So right now it would be 15.5%. So it's taken at July, and so that'll be that would be the May number for that. So that would take it again.
Almost like, what's the point of legislating at that point?
To me, there is no point. And County Executive Marc Elrich has said that he would veto that bill if it passed the council.
Good for absolutely. Yeah, so. That is a people's veto. That's a people's veto, right there. And so, what I will say is I've had experience with the double-digit proposal from the landlord community, because right here in Laurel, when we were having the conversation and pushing the issue, AOBA, the apartment, I think an office and building association, they basically had a proposal of 20%, and they wanted to deem it price gouging, anti-rent gouging, but the biggest difference is they wanted to start the conversation at 20%, and so, I don't see that as much different, right? Because those are the reasons that, I got involved and started negotiating in the community because of, 10, 15, 20, 30, and some was almost 80% rent increases for some individuals, right? And so, like, if we were to start with the bill, that is anything more than like, I think I said 4 or 5%, then I think we were really not doing people a service, because if, as you said, rents normally increase 2 to 3% at most annually. And so, given where we are, I know that people couldn't really. The thought is like, I've heard landlords say, because you're gonna pass this, like, I gotta increase the rent. Like this is the reason we're doing, like just because of those tactics. Like, what I had to remind a lobbyist yesterday that the market he talks about, those are people, those are residents. Like, we talk about the market as if they're not, it's not human, as if it's just like a business factor, but the market are individuals. And so, like,
Right.
I have a really hard time struggling with, like, how a 13% increase wouldn't change the everyday life of a person.
I mean, it does. I hear from them all. I hear from them all the time. We're hearing about people who are losing their housing for single-digit increases routinely every day. I mean, you can actually look at so one of the things we did to show a support for our bill, because the other bill, they have 6 names on their bill already. The bill was brought by Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez, who represents a very diverse district, and to a lot of folks had thought was going to be a champion for rent stabilization. But she brought this bill, and when they brought it, they didn't come and talk to us, who were writing the other bill, and say, well, we think that number should be higher or this or that. We just found out shortly before we got word that somebody else was drafting another bill. They did not want to work with us, and it was going to be, introduced. So, and I understand from talking to one of the council members who wasn't part of the drafting so much, from what I understand, but did sign on to it, but would probably prefer not to do rent stabilization at all. And that might be the ask, is just to get off this bill and we regroup and pass something later, because this 8% plus CPI is nothing. But yeah. So, but I forget where I was going with this. Oh, so they have 6 names on their bill. However, to override, which is a majority, but again, County Executive Elrich will veto it, they would need 7 people to override a veto. And so it's critically important that we, on the other side, create tremendous public pressure, or demonstrate where the public is at. That's what we have on our chat. Is this, our bill was written with the community. We have our 3 major labor unions, MCEA, SEIU Local 500, and McGeo. They all support our bill. We've got over 25 plus community organizations signed on to it. So we had letters from all of them that were introduced, as well as from impacted tenants, as well as from landlords who support our bill. We presented all of that on introduction day. We had, the audience was full of community members who had, signs for the Home Act. We did our press conference with, including the voices of those community organizations, of impacted tenants, of a landlord who supports it as well. So we're really trying to demonstrate that that the community, the public, is overwhelmingly calling on us to enact real protections for renters. And so hopefully we'll be able to move the conversation in the right direction with that.
And I know, speaking to these advocacy groups, CASA most importantly, the message should be, you don't want to be a one-termer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that should be the message, is like, some of these people who are signed on, it's only their first term. And, one of the things that I told the landlords and the landlord lobbyists is, like, the people who I'm looking to protect with this bill live in my community. The landlords, they don't live in my community. And not to say there's not a few smaller landlords that do. But as I said, like, the general overall landlords, they don't live in the city. They don't live in this county. Some of them don't even live in this state. And so, a lot of my constituents, they will continue to support it. And at the end of the day, the landlords, they didn't vote me in. The people did.
Yep.
Right. And so, like, I'm going to continue to work for the people. And I know you guys will. And, I definitely appreciate all of your guys' advocacy. One of the things that I wanted to lift up is I saw you guys had or will have a forum coming up. And so will you be present at
public hearing?
Of course, talk about it. I know I'm gonna try to drop by, I guess, on Monday.
Yeah, you're talking about the public hearing for this?
Is it? Yeah. I thought I know it was an email. I think it was from Sunrise. I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was a forum.
Okay, so Sunrise did held a forum previously that was already held, but we have a public hearing for the bill itself, or both bills. It's interesting actually. The Council President Glass he's going to be running the two bills in tandem through the full process. So as people come in to testify, they can speak about both together. It makes a lot of sense. And so actually signups for the public hearings opened up today, and within like half an hour, it was onto the wait list. That's how much people are.
And so the Renters Alliance is having a forum. Is that that's different, right?
Okay, that is different.
Yeah, Renters Alliance is having a stabilization forum at the Silver Spring Civic Center.
Okay.
Monday from 6 to 8. And
on which day?
Monday the 13th.
All right, I guess I'll be there.
Yes, that's why I was like, I thought they had your picture on there or something. So
that's good to know. Okay, I better reach out to them.
Well, no problem. I definitely will continue to spread the word. And so I wanted to ask you a few rapid questions before I got you out of here. They're a lot lighter. The first question I have for you is who is your favorite superhero and why?
Oh, my favorite superhero. So I will say I'm pretty behind on pop culture. So, God, the last time I was invested in superheroes was probably back in like the He-Man days or something. He-Man and She-Ra. I don't know. I was a kid. Yeah. I don't know. I gotta think about that. I tell my kids who, that they are their own superheroes. And so when they play superheroes, I like them to make up their own names, their own, instead of taking on being like, I'll be Spider-Man, or I'll be, one of the, Elsa, or, or whatever. So I'll say my kids then.
Absolutely. I love that. I have twins, and yes, they are superheroes themselves. I will say that. And so my next question for you is favorite quote to live by.
Oh my gosh, Martin, you got to give me these in advance.
Oh no, but that's why it's supposed to be rapid. You just got to fire them off, because that's why we would know it's really your favorite if it just comes off the tip of your tongue.
I know, but I don't have them like that. Let's see.
Oh, okay. Well, we come back to that one. The next one is what book would you recommend a young person who's interested in public service politics?
Ooh, that's a good one. A book for someone who's interested in public service. Okay, let me think. I was an English teacher, so I have a lot of.
I'm throwing the Art of War out there.
What's that?
I'm throwing the Art of War out there, right?
Okay, all right. I think I'm gonna say Stamped from the Beginning, which is an Ibram X. Kendi book. A history of anti-racism, because I think that is kind of lays the groundwork fundamentally for a lot of how we should be thinking about things. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And so the next question I have for you is favorite pastime or pastimes.
Favorite pastimes. Okay. Most of what I do outside of legislating now and organizing is spending time with my kids. And so lots of time at our local parks, walking through the woods.
You're an adventurist, fellow adventurist. I love it.
Yeah.
We got to hit a hiking club sometime.
That would be great. That's a good way to unwind, to enjoy, the things that are really important. Yeah.
Yes, we got to start like a small elected hiking club.
And I used to, I'll say before kids, or before at least my second kid, spent a lot of time at concerts, 1 to 2 concerts a week sometimes. That has kind of fallen off since the second kid, and now since things have gotten crazy.
Clearly, I know how that could be. I had two at once, so I feel you.
Yeah, seriously.
And so if you came up with a quote, favorite one you live by, feel free to say it. Did you think of one?
I don't have one. It's gonna hit me
You do?
later, Martin, but I
Oh,
don't have
okay.
one. No.
Well, I will say keep fighting the good fight, of course, for Montgomery County, and then tell people how they can stay engaged, stay connected with you, support, so on and so forth.
Yeah, you can find me on social media. I'm at CM Kristin Mink, KristinMink. My personal is at Kristin Mink _. You'll see me there. And same for Instagram as well. So hit me up, and you can email my office at councilmember.mink@montgomerycountymd.gov. Would love to hear from you. Would love to continue doing some cross jurisdiction organizing, especially things like rent stabilization, where we're moving these pieces at the same time to really show the regional enthusiasm. So getting more people from more places involved in the fight is always welcome.
Well, definitely. I love that you said the open invitation. Make sure to send me an invite, when you're doing things in that West Laurel, Burtonsville area. Laurel has a unique distinction of being in 4 counties. And as you mentioned, I think we're in that very East County, which you guys would consider East County. So yeah, definitely let me know. I go to Bond Mill sometimes, and definitely Scotchtown. I think some of the Scotchtown kids also live in that Burtonsville area. So definitely let me know. And I'm also going to do teacher appreciation days at a lot of schools. When that month when that comes up. So definitely.
Well, you know what, Martin? I got a quote. I just thought of one.
You thought of something? Okay.
Yes, I thought of one. Okay, the Shirley Chisholm's quote. If they don't give you a seat at the table, pull up a chair. And I think Ayanna Presley.
Or bring your folding chair, right?
That's right. Ayanna Presley. Well, she said build a new table. I think that was
build a new table.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. And so you keep fighting the good fight. Stop the bleed in Montgomery County, and we're gonna keep fighting for other tenant protections, just cause at the state level. Bond Stewards Bill, Tenant Safety Act, making sure that aggrieved tenants can file a class action lawsuit together. There's going to be several great things that we're continuing to fight on, and we're going to continue to build people power because people need more power. And at the end of the day, they don't have their high power lobbyists, right? They just have these advocacy groups and elected officials like yourself. So
that's right. Definitely. We need to, but that's what should win. We're the voters, right? So we need to make it clear that that their job hinges on this. That's what we should do.
Yes. Sí se puede. Absolutely. Sí se puede. I appreciate you. And, thanks so much. I look to see you next time. And I'll be in your county soon. So see you soon.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all you do.
Yes. Later.
All right.
That was the fabulous Councilwoman, Kristin Mink. Of course, tune in to everything that is going on in Montgomery County. As I always say, stay vigilant and drink your water. Mind your business. See you next time, guys.